NBC News Radio.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
Alyssa, my daughter and co-host, will be sharing the second half of her story. First, I wanted to give a little background on Alyssa as a person. Being her mom, it's my opportunity to brag a little bit on my daughter. And I just wanted to say that when she was a little girl, she was a very sweet, kind little girl. And just a little background on the person that she was. She was an animal lover, and she saved our a little cat. He was a stray in the neighborhood. His name was Socks, and he would come over, and he would eat at our house. And she was about 23. And one day he came over, and he had like an infected paw, and the paw was huge. And she took him to the vet, and of course she didn't really have much money, and I didn't have much money either. And so she came home and said the vet says that Socks was bit by another animal, and his paw needs to be amputated.
He had gangrene.
Oh, he had gangrene. Okay, and the vet had said his paw needs to be amputated, and vet also said because he was a stray, it'd be really hard because now he'd be prey because he only had 3 legs. So I said, well, I guess we're going to have him put to sleep because it was going to be $2,000. And I remember she was 23, even though we kind of had an argument about that this morning. We had to look it up. But I remember she was 23 because she stomped her foot at me and said, "I hate you," and ran out of the room. And I remember thinking, she's 23 and she just did that. Okay, that just happened. So what was really awesome about the whole experience, though, was that it was, 2015 or something?
2014.
2014. And her little sister was pretty young at the time. She came out a couple days later, and Alyssa wasn't talking to me. She wouldn't speak to me. And she said to me, Kaylee, she said to me, "Mom, look, Alyssa created a GoFundMe for Socks." And I'm like, "What's a GoFundMe? I never heard of it." And she said, "And guess what? She's already raised, I think, like $1,100. And it was like in a couple days. And I was just so impressed. I was like, okay, she's going to save this cat. And so after that, the animal hospital, I believe it was on, was it Van Buren or no? I'm not sure.
It was the cat hospital in Riverside. I think it was called Cat Hospital.
Cat Hospital in Riverside, a little shout out to them because they heard about the fundraiser, and they were happy to take care of Socks and also fix him and flea dip him, and he became our pet, and he's doing quite well with his 3 legs. And he still goes out and tries to hunt other animals. He used to be a big tomcat with a big head, and he was a calico cat, and he used to terrify us because he would just hop on a jackrabbit and do his thing, and bring the jackrabbit. And Alyssa would try to run out there and save the jackrabbit, but so that's the kind of person that she is. She's always been a loving person and a good kid. A little recap of her story, though. She started using off and on in high school. And if you want to hear her story, it's on another episode. You can look us up on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and KCAA online radio. But she started using in high school a little bit of ecstasy and Molly. She said she always kind of had this feeling. She recently told me that she needed something to fill some kind of void that she was feeling in her life. So even before she started using substances, she was also cutting herself and vomiting, just trying to find some kind of inner peace. She also had an issue with alcohol. Pretty early on, I kicked her out for being an alcoholic, for drinking, constantly bringing alcohol in the house. We really didn't have alcohol in our house, so when she started bringing it in, it was frustrating to me, and I could tell she really had a problem with it. So she had moved in with a boyfriend, and he had a problem with alcohol, so they were drinking a lot together. Eventually, they moved on to using Vicodin, Norcos, and then heroin and meth. And he became more and more abusive, and finally, to the point where we had to get a restraining order. Alyssa moved back in with me. We got a restraining order. We tried several rehabs. And then finally, at one rehab, she ended up getting a restraining order against the last boyfriend. And at one rehab, in Laguna Beach, she met a boy there, fell in love with him, and they had a little girl together, daughter, my granddaughter, Zoe. She's adorable. After that, I realized that they were both using. I kicked him out, fairly early, right after Zoe was born, and then I found out that she was using, and I ended up kicking her out and moving away, trying to get away
And
from.
Zoe was one.
Zoe was one, yeah. So I tried to get away from that neighborhood. It was a bad neighborhood where I lived, so it wasn't really conducive to her getting better or for us to even separate from her and get her. I knew that I had to get her out of our lives at that point. Unfortunately, she was using needles, and I knew that she had to either be in rehab or homeless, which was an awful decision for me to make. But I did end up taking over guardianship of Zoe. Alyssa did sign her over, um, and then I put her back into rehab, and we moved. And then she got kicked out of rehab for bringing in some
Suboxone.
Suboxone and a phone.
Cell phone. Yep.
Yeah, she didn't want to get sick, so she brought in the Suboxone. It's very
They
painful.
wanted us to kick cold turkey there, and I was not.
It's a hard thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
And I had regular government insurance, so I was pretty limited in resources and places that I could go.
Right, right. So I think that's kind of where we're at now with the story. Alyssa, do you want to pick up?
Sure. I just, to start off, I wanted to dedicate this show to Kyle Hampton. It's my children's uncle and my kid's father's brother. He passed away from addiction. He overdosed fairly recently. I think it was October.
I think.
Or to December, I don't know, but it happened just a few months ago. And yeah, it's a really unexpected, really painful thing for the family to have to go through. And it's something I've been hearing more and more about lately, but it just hit way closer to home this time, especially with one of my kids not even getting to meet him. And I kind of always thought that there would be that time, you know. So, okay, so on with my story. Let's see. So I just kind of wanted to start also talking about, because I'm going to be talking about a lot of bad people, I guess what the word is. But there are some good people in this world. There was a city. I'm not going to say exactly where it is.
Can
Because
I interject something really fast?
Sure.
Sorry. I don't necessarily think people are bad. I think they do bad things. So I guess maybe they did some bad things.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. We might agree to disagree on that. But they made some bad choices and they did some bad things. But it wasn't to me. It was to you. So go ahead. Forgive me.
I think they could be bad until they decide if they want to be good or not. I mean, yeah. Anyway,
Okay. Go
so
ahead.
there was these two men, or one man. He didn't speak English. He spoke Spanish. He barely spoke any English. He pulled up to me and my baby's father at the time, and he asked us if we needed a place to sleep. This is when we were homeless and we were on the street using. And we said, yeah. And he said, I'm not sure if my brother would let you, but I might have a church for you to stay in. He is the what is the word, pastor there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he took us over there, and this man and his wife came out, and they spoke in Spanish a little bit about us staying there. And he kind of looked us over, and he shook our hands and asked us, how long will you be staying? And we said, oh, just like a day. And he said, you can stay here as long as you want, just as long as, you just clean up after yourself. We said, okay. And we went into this place. It was a church. I'm not going to say where exactly, but there was a church, and it was full of immigrants and people. It was like a refugee kind of place almost. I know it was pretty like a secret kind of hidden place, and they were letting us into their world and risking all of that just to let us have a place to sleep and stay, because they knew how it was. And that was something that was more touching than, I've seen in a long time. Being on the street and homeless people treat you really bad. They look at you like you're disgusting and you're dirty. And it was just something that was kind of just like a spiritual moment almost. We slept on the ground next to a bunch of other people, and they gave us like a rug to sleep on, like a roll-up rug, and it was just nice to be able to get out of off of the street and off of the freezing cold ground, for once. And the next morning they had mass, and they invited us to their church. And we had to leave because the kids that were there, the students, they did teaching too there. They taught the kids there, and so they were going to set up that room that we were sleeping in with desks for the kids so they could learn. And then they took us over to the church portion, and they decided to sit us with a translator that spoke English so that they could tell us, you know, the word of God, but in our language so we could understand. And then they ended up introducing us to everybody, and everybody came over and they shook our hands, and it was just really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So we wound up in Anaheim. We went to a rehab out there, me and my children's father, and we ended up leaving early, the rehab, and we got kind of stuck out in Anaheim. And Anaheim has a huge homeless population, and yeah, it was. I don't know what the word is. It was really bad. I would always have men constantly stop their cars to try to solicit me and ask me how much or offer a certain amount of money for me to sleep with them. And it bothered me really like a lot for a long time. And I don't think I ever really like got over that because it probably happened like a total of like 400 times, like in a 2-year period. And you would be surprised with the kind of people trying to solicit sex. There was men who were on break from work and men who were supposed to be at work or home. They were in really expensive cars, or some were literally even in work trucks, which that one shocked me, I think, the most at first. And their reaction to me saying that I wasn't a prostitute and I don't care how much money that they're offering me was like literally all the same. They were all shocked or angry, disappointed, or they offered me more money to get me to budge. And this isn't to say that people who are prostitutes are bad or disgusting, because I'm not going to lie, I literally thought about doing it. There's so many times I thought about doing it, and I just couldn't get myself to do it. I was afraid of, for one, the repercussions, or afraid of also what these guys could do to me, because I've heard so many horror stories about women getting kidnapped or raped, or you know, them never making it back out of the car again. And I didn't want to risk that. But
Well, thank God.
yeah. Let's see. Oh, so, and then at that point, we had a really hard time finding clean needles. That was something that was like impossible to find. And even if you did find somebody who was willing to sell one to you or spare one, it was usually used anyway. So we ended up finding needles on the ground and just using them. And we just kind of stopped caring about ourselves and what was going to happen to us. We just wanted to get high at that point because we were sick.
How are you getting money for the drugs?
We would, mostly what we started doing was we would find receipts on the ground over by like a Walmart or Target or something. And we would make sure to find ones that were in cash. And because you could see on the bottom it says credit card or cash, and we would go in the store and we would steal that thing that it said on the receipt.
You'd steal the item.
Yeah, we would steal it, and then we would return it and we would get the cash for it. But we also did a lot of we would steal things that were expensive or something from certain stores, and then we would go and sell them for way cheaper than what they were worth. Yeah, we made a lot of money that way too. So I never took rides from people. I always like tried to stay safe on, you know, just not getting in cars with people ever, because I didn't trust anybody in that way. There was very few times that I would get in a car with somebody else, and it was usually when I was with somebody else, like my boyfriend at that time. But there was a time when I was so sick and I couldn't find. Me and my baby's father got separated a lot. Like we couldn't find each other when we were out on the street, and so and he was like, for a long time, he would come up with the money. So I was kind of left dope sick all the time, and I kind of got like, I was really sick this day, and I recognized this guy as his dealer, as my baby's father's dealer. And he told me he would take me to go get well and to not be sick, to pick up.
Wait. What does all that mean? So you're get well.
So we could go, he said he would go pick up some heroin for me and we can, get high and I wouldn't be sick anymore. So get well.
Okay.
Um, yeah. And then, so he decided to all of a sudden stop and pick up this guy that was his friend. He said, "Oh, well, he's the one who has the heroin." And I said, "Okay." So he picked him up and the whole atmosphere in the car just changed. I just felt really, really tense. They got really quiet and I just felt like something was up. And he was like, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and take you over to my house." And I was like, "Your house? Why your house?" And he was like, "Oh, because I have some stuff there." And he's like, "It's not really my place anymore, but I'm squatting there because I got kicked out a couple months ago." And he's like, "But it's cool." And I was like really nervous. So I told him, like, he was driving pretty far. And I was like, "Where are you? Like, I don't want to go all the way over here. I don't know really where I am and I'm really uncomfortable." And he was like, "No, no, it's cool." And then he started driving really crazy and like super fast. And I was telling him, "No, no, I want to get out of the car." And he's like, "No, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine." And him and the guy, they were just like kind of looking at each other and they just drove really, really fast. And I just had a bad feeling. I knew if I didn't get out of the car, find a way to get out of the car, something bad was going to happen. And he stopped at this stoplight, and I told him, "Hey, you can just let me out here because I changed my mind." And he was like, "No, no, you're just going to come to my house." And so I said, "Hey, if you turn around the car, I can go ahead and go to Home Depot and steal a bunch of tools for you." And I was like, "And my boyfriend, he can help you too. He's like really good at it." And he stopped and thought about it for a long time, and he decided, "Okay, yeah, sure." But I didn't know where my boyfriend was at the time. I had no idea. So he turned the car around, and just lo and behold, there's my boyfriend. He took me all the way back, and he was right there, standing, like walking, looking for me at the time. And I said, "There he is." And I hopped out of the car, and he's like, "Okay, come on, you guys are both getting in the car now, and you're gonna go get me some stuff." And he was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I whispered to him, and I was like, "Let's go. We need to go." And so he said, "Oh yeah, yeah, we'll help you out. Just give us a minute." And he took off with me around the corner, and we left. We bounced. That was it. And we after that we saw him again like once or twice, but and every single time it was just he was trying to get us to go with him to go take some stuff. But I just had a bad feeling about him, and something happened later that I'll talk about later with that same exact guy.
Can I ask you a
Why I
question?
think I had a bad feeling about him. Yeah.
Sure. Um, how do I even put this? You weren't really raised up getting in cars with strangers or anything like that. So, I mean, on the streets and all these things that are going on with you. I mean, I was a really protective mother. Can you tell me like how that feels? And I guess like when did you start to feel like it's okay to get in the car with this guy or that guy? Was it just an act of desperation because you were so sick, or
Well, yeah.
I just wanted to know like how is that and how is it being homeless on the streets like that? I mean, was there scary? Was there scary? Was
Oh
it
yeah, it
scary
was
to begin
terrifying
with?
all the time, and a lot of bad things happened. But I'm surprised a lot more didn't happen. I really feel like I have God watching over me, and it wasn't, my time or my higher power. Um,
I know you were praying a lot. You told me you prayed
oh
a lot,
yeah,
and there were a lot of times where you felt like God was guiding you
a lot of times.
and intervening for you.
Yeah, like yeah,
I just wanted to say that because I know there's a lot of people who grow up, a little bit street smart, and they're out there and they kind of know the streets, or they hang out and whatever. You weren't raised that way, so I just wondered in my own mind, like, how did that feel for you being out there without anybody to help you, like without your
it
boyfriend
was
there?
scary
And
at first, and it did. There was times when it was really scary, but it's something you get used to. It really, really fast. You wouldn't think you would get used to it so fast, but you do.
like
You
anything
get
else,
used to it.
how
You
did you
adapt.
shower when you were on the streets?
Oh,
What
I
did
was
you
going
do?
to talk about that later too, but
Sorry.
that's okay. You basically you go just find bathrooms that you can go into, but it was really hard because people who worked at these stores or anywhere you would try to go into, they looked at you like you were less than, and they just wouldn't, and they wouldn't let you go into their bathrooms. They didn't want you to.
They knew you were they could see you coming.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there was times I would go into a bathroom and they would call the cops on me.
I
I
remember
mean,
coming out there to bring Zoe to visit you, and sometimes I would do that. I would bring Zoe to visit her and the baby's father. I didn't do it a lot. I just felt like she was young enough to where it wasn't like to her detriment, but it still was very hard. It was hard for both of us. I mean, we would leave there bawling, both of us crying. But I remember going out there and just being shocked at how the area was so bad in Anaheim. The area was kind of bad, and then also just the way you looked, the way the baby's dad looked, and just like finding out. I knew that there are men out there who would obviously solicit vulnerable women, but just finding out like how many people had harassed you and solicited you, I was just praying myself for you. But I mean, obviously, I don't know. I don't know what more to say about that. I can't go into
Right.
too much detail about that. Go ahead with your story. Sorry.
Right. No, that's okay. Okay, so the next part of my story, I wanted to talk about there was this guy. He was like probably around 20. Um, he didn't look too threatening. He came up to me as another time when I was sick, and he offered me a balloon of H, which is it's heroin. It's in a balloon, in an actual balloon. In Anaheim, they sell it in aluminum and then wrapped inside of a balloon. Um, and that's pretty
Is
much.
that a lot of heroin?
No, it's
Or
a dime. A
oh,
dime is just a
you
point.
weren't expecting me to ask that. You're like, I don't know. Okay.
No, I know.
Yeah,
It's a
but you don't know how
dime.
much.
It's
Okay.
a point of a gram.
A point of a gram. Okay, I didn't know what a point was. I was playing it off, but okay.
And then he also offered for me to smoke some meth with him, and I accepted. So after we got high, went ahead and like went around to this dumpster area, and we got high. And I was kind of nervous, but I was like, oh, I don't know. Like I just I guess when I was sick, I kind of put myself in situations that I normally would know better than to put myself into. And so I went ahead and went with him. And then he ended up telling me he told me he was in a gang, and he told me he wanted to show me his neighborhood. And I was really like, I knew I didn't want to go, but at the same time, I was kind of scared not to because I didn't know, what he could do to me if I didn't.
Where was the
Um,
baby's dad
I don't know.
at the time? Oh, you weren't together. Okay.
No, we were together. We weren't together, like at the like standing
No,
by
I
each other. I don't
understood.
know where
I
he
understood.
was. We got separated a lot, but so basically, before we went into the neighborhood, like right before the neighborhood, he pulled out this silver necklace with a cross on it, like a rosary type thing, and then he put it around my neck, and he said, "Only God can help you now." And I was like, what? And so I was like really freaked out, but he ended up taking me into the neighborhood, and he's like, I want to show you the OG of this place. And I'm like, okay. And so he
OG meaning old gangster.
original gangster
Oh,
of this place. so
I thought it was old gangster. Sorry.
so he took me to the guy, and the guy ended up saying, "Oh, let me get a back rub," and I was like, "No." And so it was just really weird. And then he took me over to this spot, and he hands me this tent, and he's like, "Hey, you see that spot way over there?" And he points over, and there's like this forest. It's dark, it's night, and it's like way deep in the forest. And I literally I had this bad feeling. And he's like, go set the tent up over there. And he's like, I'm going to be right back. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, nothing, nothing. Just go over there and set up the tent. And I was like, okay. And so as soon as he walked away, I threw the tent and I ran because I was like, no, there's something up with this. This is weird. Like, so I went and I ran and I hid like behind these dumpsters. And I heard him, and this is like maybe 2 minutes later, I heard him and a couple of other guys looking for me. And they were like, where did she go? Where did she go? And I just felt like they got really quiet. And I felt like there's something, and I feel like it was God telling me, move over to the other side. So I'm behind this dumpster, and I move to the other side. And all of a sudden, there's guys over at the dumpster to the right of me, and they're looking inside. I could hear them opening it, and they're like looking inside. They're like, is she in there? Is she in there? No. And they closed it. And then they came over to mine, and I'm behind on the other side, the left side, so they can't see me. And I'm so scared they're going to come around and see me. But they open it up. They're like, she in there? No, she's not. And they closed it, and they left. And I waited there for like, I don't know how long. It was a long time. I was so scared. I just waited and waited. And I took off running, like maybe like 30 minutes later. I took off running, and I was like, okay, I got to get out of here before it's too late. And I took off running, and that was it. But there was just a lot of these weird, creepy stories. And I know things could have gone so, so bad. And it was just, yeah. So let me see. So I ended up getting arrested. And they sent me and my baby's father to county jail in Santa Ana. So
What were you arrested for?
um, they arrested this charge. They said was what was the word for looking like I'm high? I can't remember what the word was.
Under the influence?
No, for looking like it though, like not actually being under the influence. They had no proof.
Suspicion? I don't know.
Suspicion of being under the influence. That's why they arrested us, because they already knew us. They had arrested us in a week span. They had arrested us. No, I'm sorry. It was a week and a half. They had arrested us 7 times.
I remember that.
So
I was praying that you would just stay in jail.
yeah, they let us out over and over and
Yeah.
over again.
I remember
And so they ended up arresting us over suspicion of being under the influence. And they ended up sending us to county. And I got out the next day. But when I was in county, I saw there was this correctional officer, this woman, and she was so rude. So I was sick and I was shaking and shivering and I was sweating and I was really not doing well. And when I came out of the cell to be fingerprinted by her, she said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm sick." And she's like, "Yeah, you and 100 others." And she rolled her eyes at me, and I'm like, "Okay, but you asked." And she was like, "Get away from me, you stink." And I was like, "Wow, okay." And so I just ignored it because I'm like, "That's how they are, whatever."
Is this the same one that was flirting with the baby's dad, though? Isn't there an officer at one point that was? Am I?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, because I remember you telling me a story like that too at one point. That there
It
was an
probably happened. There's a
officer-
lot of things I don't rember.
Okay.
There's a lot
I
of
remember
things
you
I don't
telling
remember.
me that there was a female
It
officer that-
sounds like it kind of
that
is
flirted
familiar,
with
but
him a lot.
I can't pinpoint it at all.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
But no, this is definitely not the one. I just saw her that one time and I just thought it was so rude.
Did you stink?
No.
I didn't.
I
think
always
so.
made sure to wash.
I'm asking because I didn't think so, but I wanted
Yeah.
to ask because
That's
I'm
something.
like,
Yeah.
did she even really have a reason to say
No,
that?
she said it
was just
because
being cruel.
she saw my thing. It said I was homeless. I
Yeah,
know why
she's
she
just
did
being
it.
Cruel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She shouldn't have said it to begin with. But I'm just saying. Was she
Yeah.
just being
No, it's just horrible the way that people treat you when they know you're an addict and when they know you're homeless. Even if that's your job. Or you're working as a correctional officer. You see these things. You should know how to treat people and not treat people.
Well, and why
you're in a
even-
position of power.
Why even ask? Why ask you? What's
Just
wrong
so
with you?
she could say-
Just so you could
yeah.
make fun of me.
Mhm.
Just so you can. Yeah.
Yep. So the next day I was let out and I was sick, of course, and I was looking around the ground for needles and I found one and it was full of liquid, but it also looked like it had blood in it. And I was thinking about using it because I was so sick.
Where do you just find needles?
In Santa Ana.
Are they just like on the street?
They're
I'm so
everywhere.
confused.
They were in Anaheim and Santa Ana. They were all over the place.
Wow. Okay.
It's like that in Seattle too.
Wow. Okay.
So I found one in a bush, and this lady came and she walked up to me, and she's like, "Oh, don't use it. That's mine." She's like, "I have Hep C," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And at this point, I didn't have Hep C, so I was still kind of freaked out by it, and I was like, "Okay, never mind." And so she ended up telling me that she's like, "I know this drug dealer. His name is Leonard, and he will give you some stuff for free. He'll feel bad for you." She's like, "You're a pretty girl, so he'll feel bad and he'll give it to you." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And so she brings her boyfriend over and she's like, "Hey, take her down to where the tents are." And so he has me, and I'm terrified of bikes, sitting on people's bikes while they're driving. I don't trust them, but she had me sit on his bike. Bicycle.
Okay.
It was scary. And so I climbed on his bike and sat on those handlebars and he rode me over there. And we get over to this street. It's like a business street, like with like a couple of like warehouses, but it's like an abandoned warehouse street. There's like one
Like,
business.
Kind of like a strip type of warehouse.
Yeah,
strip
it
mall
was.
type?
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. And there was a bunch. I was really shocked. This is the first time I seen something like this. There was like lines of tents, just like whole neighborhoods of tents, just right here and on these couple of streets. And so she brought me into this tent. Or he brought me into the tent. I'm sorry, she came later, but he brought me into the tent. And this guy Leonard, he was like the 70-year-old man. He ended up giving me some stuff for free, some heroin for free. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm the guy that you can come to where, you can get some stuff. You can get stuff for free if you want." This is before he knew I had a boyfriend. So as I ended up going back to the jail because I had a feeling, to county, I had a feeling that my baby's father was going to get released, and I saved him some stuff, And so when he got out, he did get out. He got out, and I gave him some stuff, and we went back to
When you
Leonard
say
later.
stuff, what do you mean?
Drugs. So
Okay.
we went back to Leonard. And we were gonna I had some money this time. I think we went and stole some stuff. Got like
How
20
much
bucks.
does it cost?
Oh, it depends. It depends on who the people you go to and the places you go. I mean, in Anaheim, like there was the balloons, which is a point, which is a dime, which costs $10. You get one hit off of that, but then you need another one,
One hit is one dose of one
like
shot.
one shot, and it's still.
How many shots did you need a day?
Oh, a lot. I was doing like 2 grams a day at this point. So, and then we were also shooting meth with it as well. So, yeah, it
How
was.
much
a lot.
money is that?
I don't
Taking
know.
you by surprise here.
It was a lot.
A lot.
Maybe like 100, 150 a day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so I remember when we went back we came back with like 20 bucks, and we needed to get some heroin from him. And he's the only one we knew out there that sold heroin. And he had a bunch of prostitutes in the tent with him. And I remember it was really shocking to me at the time because this is the first experience seeing prostitutes like half naked on top of somebody like at the same time. And I was like,
Okay, it's a lot of information.
well, it's
It's a
true.
lot of
And
information to listen.
I was really shocked. And I was like, whoa. And he's like, no, it's okay. Come in here. And I was like, oh, I can come back later. And he's like, no, it's okay. And I was like, I just wanted to buy a dub, and a dub is $20 worth. And so, or, whatever they want to give you for 20. And so he got me gave me some money, but he told me you have to do it right here, this amount. He gave me a big amount, and he was like, you have to do this big amount right here. And to my boyfriend, he knew my boyfriend was out there now, or he saw my boyfriend, he met him, he wasn't happy about it. And he was like, you do this amount here, and I will give you half, like his half, but he's not going to get as much as you. So he basically gave me like a full dub by myself, but only if I used it right there. And then he gave him a dime, like a half of the dub. But
Why do you think he had you use it right there?
because he probably wanted me to stick around and see him and what he was doing with the girls and stuff
Or
like
he wanted to
that.
make sure that you used it and didn't give him more.
That too, because
Maybe.
he was really controlling over those kind of things. He was really controlling. He was like really power hungry. He was a sick man. So he would get angry, and it would scare me a lot. I seen him. I saw him hold knives to people. I saw him. This guy Leonard, I saw him beat people up. He was an old man, but he was like tough, and nobody would mess with him or try to fight him back because he had groups of guys with him at all times, and so these guys would jump in on them if they tried to fight him back. So this guy was scary. So there was this car lot that me and my baby's father would go to because there was this used car that it was like a really old used car, like something that was like worth $1,000 or something. The window was cracked down, and so we used to sleep in there. We'd sneak in there and we'd sleep in there at nights. And there was this time when he got arrested, and it was pouring rain. And so I ran to the car lot to go get inside because it was raining, and I was tired and I was sick, and I just wanted to get in this car and just go to sleep and sleep it all away. And the window was rolled up, and we had been sleeping in this car for weeks. And so I was really like, oh no, I'm screwed. And so I'm walking around, and I'm just getting, pouring rain all over me. And Leonard has one of his friends pull up to me. He's in a car, and he's in the back seat. Leonard's in the back seat with a girl that I knew that he was always with. And he was like, hey, get in. And I normally wouldn't either get in with him because I didn't trust him, but the girl was there. So I was like, okay, I'll get in. So I got into the car with them, and he was like, hey, I'm going to take you to this place where we can get some stuff, some meth. And I was like, okay. So he took me, and he's like, you don't tell anybody about this place. And I was like, okay. And he's like, because this is the dealer's dealer, So he took me to this place, and he told the girl stay in the car, and she got really upset. And she's like, why is she going to go in with you and not me? And he's like, "You just shut up." And she would just shut up real quick. And so he brought me up there with him. And this guy in this room had so much stuff. It was insane. There was just chunks, huge chunks of meth, the bigger than I've ever seen in my life. And there was just bags and bags. He had this girl just bagging up all his stuff for him, like half naked, just bagging up all his stuff for him. And she saw me, and I told her he had taken.
Tell me this: why was she half naked?
I don't know.
Well, isn't it so that she can't steal from him? I mean,
oh yeah,
isn't that like what we see in the movies?
Yeah, no, you're right.
It was like a movie,
you're right.
Like when you told me this before, that was like my first thought was like, holy cow, this is like a real thing. This really happens. Like,
yeah,
because I've seen that in movies.
Yeah, and she ended up giving. So basically, Leonard, before we went up there, he had given me like a dime, and he didn't let me use it yet. But he told me he took it from me before we went up there and said, "I'm holding on to this for you until we get up there." And I was like, okay. And he's like, you can't use it up there either. So when I went up there, me and her talked while he was picking up from the guy. And he picked up, I think, 20 grams from him of meth and I think like a gram of heroin that he said he was going to give to me. But he was like, I'm holding on to this for you, and I'm not going to give it to you till I want to. And the girl's like, she whispered to me, she's like, aren't you sick? And I was like, yeah. And so she was like, here. And she handed me a dub, and she was like, don't tell anybody. And I was like, okay. And so I went downstairs. We left, and he took me back. He takes me to this hotel. And all of a sudden, this girl that he's with in the back seat, she leaves. And I'm like, what are we doing? He's like, don't worry. There's a bunch of people here. And I was like, okay. And so we went into this hotel room, and there's like 15 people there. There's a lot of people sitting all around this table with a bunch of drugs and there was like guns, there was credit cards, there was just a bunch of stuff. And they were all sitting in this circle around this table and just like talking, but they all looked angry. I remember thinking they all looked so angry that I came in and like, I was just scared. I was like, what the hell? And Leonard, it was like one of those hotel rooms where there's a room in the back. So there's an extra room with a door. And he's like, that's my room. Come on. And so he's like, just walk past them. And I was like, okay. So I walked past them and we went into this room and it was just me and him. And I was like, wait, what are we doing? And he's like, just calm down. Here, I'm going to get you a needle and you can take your shot. And I was like, okay. And I remember him making my shot for me. He got me this soda and I already had my soda. I literally already had one and it was brand new. And he gives me this soda and he had it open. It was already open for me. He gave it to me. He's like, drink this. And I was like, I already have a soda. And he's like, drink it. And I was like, okay. And so I drank it and he was super controlling. So I just listened to what he said. Then he throws me a t-shirt and he's like, put this on. And I was like, what? I already have clothes on. He's like, put it on. And I was like really scared. I was like, okay. And so I was going to put it on. I was like, don't look at me. And he was still looking. He's like, put it on. And I was like, okay. So I put the shirt on and I'm just wearing a t-shirt at this point. And he ends up making the shot for me. And he's like, do this shot. So I do this shot and finally it gets to get well. I feel so good. And I pass out. Now, I have glimpses of just one little thing of me. I remember waking up at one point, opening my eyes, and he was on top of me. And then I remember thinking, like, I was disgusted. I was like, oh, my God, like, gross. This old, nasty, disgusting man is on top of me, and I passed back out. And then I woke up the next day, and he was next to me. He was naked, and I was so disgusted with him. So I went and I ended up going into his drawer and stealing half of all of his dope and taking money, all the money he had, and there was like $20, but I took half of his dope and I left. And I remember wanting to hurry so fast to get out of there. So I ended up jumping on the bus. Thank God there was a bus that pulled up right then at that time. And then I ended up leaving. And so after that, I ended up seeing him, I think, there was one time I saw him and he came by and I stopped going around that area after that, but I saw him and he was like, Alyssa, you weren't supposed to I didn't tell you could take that much dope from me. And he didn't tell me I could take any, but he was like, I didn't tell you could take that much dope from me. I only told you could take this much or whatever. And I was like, okay, but he said it in front of another girl. So I think he was embarrassed but he still wanted to let me know, like, I know what you did. But I was like, oh, okay. And then I ended up walking away and leaving. And then I saw him one other time after that, and he seemed like really down, like something was happening, something, I don't know exactly. It's just something I felt. I felt it really strong energy from him that was like really, really bad. So I went and I sat like close to him, not like, I just sat next to him and I said, "What's up?" And I didn't really harbor like bad feelings for him at this point, even though what he did, it was disgusting and horrible. But there was
He raped
something
you.
about him
It
that,
was rape.
yeah, but there was something about him that I don't know what it was. I just didn't hold, I was angry for a long time, but not like, I can't explain it. So he ended up telling me, "I'm dying."
I don't always think it's something about him. I think it's something about you that you have a spirit of forgiveness and a heart of forgiveness in
Yeah.
you. And you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So go on.
But
Okay.
he ended up saying, "I'm dying." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? What do you mean you're dying?" And he's like, "I have colon cancer." And he's like, "The doctors told me I'm only going to have like 6 months left to live." And I just kind of felt like, I don't know. I told him at that point, I was like, "Look, I forgive you for what you did. And I know what you did. And I forgive you for it. And I'm sorry that that's happening to you. And you should take this time to maybe get sober and get clean and go to your family." And that was our last time ever talking after that. Um,
Didn't you tell me that he said something like his crew wasn't coming around him and like people just didn't care?
yeah, no, he said that too.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of like the moral of the story. Like really, like all these people that he thought were his friends or that he, controlled or had some kind of power over. In the end, he's dying. He's done this horrible thing to you, and he's dying, and now he's on the streets dying, and no one cares.
Right.
He doesn't really have anyone. Did you talk to him about God?
Yeah. hmm I told him, do you believe in God? And he said he did. And I said, "Well, why are you doing all the things that you're doing then?" And he said he doesn't know and he's just stuck in a cycle. But yeah. So anyway, there was this thing in Anaheim, in Santa Ana. It's called Tent City. It was. And it was just this huge city of tents.
How did you
Like
guys
just,
end up in that area, Santa Ana, Anaheim?
I already said that in the
Oh,
story.
sorry. Sometimes I miss parts. I don't know why. Okay, sorry. Why?
That's okay. And so, um, these buses, they came all of a sudden out of nowhere. We just found out about this place and we were thinking about staying there. And these big buses came and they were taking people they said they were taking people to a new shelter that they had built. And police were coming around and they were making people leave and stuff. And they said, "Hey, you could either leave or you go on this bus and go to the shelter." And people were not coming back. So we decided there was something weird with it and we just didn't trust it. And we ended up leaving. We went back to Anaheim and we found out that this girl that I knew named Carly was found murdered with her pants down around her ankles in a parking lot of a grocery store. And one of our other friends actually saw her deceased, and they said they're the ones who called the cops. And then this basically who we think it was. Now, I don't know if the cops, at this point had caught on to who it could have been or not, but I was told by somebody else it was the guy who had tried to take me, or who did take me in the car with him and his friend. He picked up that friend. He picked up this guy, Corey, and he told Corey, "Hey, I have a dead girl in my trunk." And this is, this is around the time that Carly was murdered. Because I told Corey the story about what happened to me and him, and he's like, and he didn't believe me about a lot of stuff.
Tell me something.
Because he was friends with an ex of mine who always told him things that, who didn't like me very much, I guess what the word is, and always tried to get him to believe his side of events. So always told him things about me that were over the top or not true. And so the guy ended up telling me, "Oh, I believe this. I believe you. You know why I believe you? I was sitting in a car with this guy, and he told me, 'Do you want to see a girl's dead body I have in my trunk?' And he's like, 'Stop! You're just messing around with me. You're trying to scare me.' And he's like, 'No, I really have a dead girl in my trunk.' And he's like, 'Stop it.' He's like, 'I just want to pick up. Just give me some, give me some stuff.' And he was like, 'No.' And he gets out of the car and he's like, 'Get the F out of the car and come see this girl.' And he opens up the trunk and he's like, 'Come here.' I really want you to see. And he said he jumped out of his car and ran. And he's like, no, F that. And he took off running.
This is the same guy who took you to see the OG and you had to
No,
hide from?
no. This
Sorry.
is the guy who picked me up and was driving me far away, with that other guy in his
Oh,
car.
and you talked him into
And
bringing you back.
and I had a bad feeling about. And he ended up having, yeah. And this is like the same time that this girl got murdered, and she was dumped into this parking lot, after she was murdered.
Um, Tell me about Carly. How did you know her? What was she like?
She was 19. She was young. She was I don't know the word, paranoid schizophrenic maybe, but probably induced by drugs at a young age. She told me she started using when she was young, like 10, and her parents didn't want
Oh,
her,
10.
and she was in a group home until she was 18, and they kicked her out on the street. And she said, I don't know, she would talk to herself and have different personas, and but she took I in the bathroom. We were in this bathroom, and I had this shampoo and conditioner, and she ended up coming over to me and picking up my shampoo, and she washed my hair, and then I ended up washing her hair too, and that was the second and last time I ever saw her.
Did you tell me? I'm not sure. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But did you tell me at one point that she was afraid that someone was going to rape her or kill her? That she'd been raped before.
She talked about that a lot. Mm.
She'd been raped before.
I mean, the couple of times I saw her, she always said something like that. But it was things that she said out loud a lot too. You know,
That she
like
was afraid
just
of-
she would randomly say stuff like that out loud when you would see her walking by. But I only had 2 personal encounters with her, besides the times I saw her walking around just saying things like that. You know.
Did you ever tell the police what you that,
No.
What? No. Okay.
They wouldn't believe me. um, let's see. So we decided to get away from there because it was terrifying, and we were like, we need to get, away from here. I don't want to be near this. So we decided to take the bus just far away, me and my baby's father. We took it to Palm Springs.
Let me ask you this though. Didn't you tell me at one point was that you left there because the heroin was cheaper out towards
It wasn't
desert?
just that. We first left because it was terrifying, and
Right.
I was afraid to get kidnapped and taken, so we
Right.
left. And we were also it was that was later.
Oh, sorry. I'm getting all the story. I'm getting ahead of the story. Go ahead.
So basically in Palm Springs we stayed in a hotel for a week.
5 minutes, Alyssa.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll have to finish my story in 2 weeks. Okay.
You wanna talk about
Go
Palm
ahead.
Springs?
Go ahead. We'll
Oh,
talk
well,
about it next time. We'll talk
okay.
about it next time.
Well, we still have a good 10 minutes, so I probably shouldn't have stopped you, but I do have a couple things to say. Let's see. Sorry, just be 1 minute. There is a fundraiser coming up. I've already talked to you guys about it once, but I wanted to reiterate that Kits with Kindness is having a fundraiser on Thursday, April 7th, and it's going to be at Hamburger Mary's in Ontario, and it's going to be Big Queen Bingo. So I hear this is a lot of fun, the Big Queen Bingo, so I'm excited. And that's going to be on April 7th on a Thursday, and you can look them up. They need, I think, 50 people at least to attend, and the money will be going towards kits for homeless and for people in need. They have kits for individuals, like individual homeless people. They have kits for feminine products for women, and they also have kits for animals, dogs. And so if you go on to their website, which is kitswithkindness.org, or you could go find them on Facebook under Kits with Kindness on their Facebook page. And so please do go on and help out. And you could also just donate if you can't attend because they have need for supplies. And you can also come out to their next packing party too. Look it up online. And we packed last time about 200 packages. I've been giving them out. There's lots of people out there in need, and it's nice to be able to give them something of value rather than just like giving them money. If you give them money, you don't know what they're using it for. And I think Alyssa, you've told me, it's not a good idea to give money all the time, especially to certain people, and it's hard for us to know
I
who.
didn't say all the time.
Well, I know.
No, I said if you feel like giving money, you should. Yeah, because there's times where you feel worthless, and all of a sudden somebody will come up and give you $1 or two, and you'll get to eat, and you're just so happy. Like, and
But I
some
think you
and
told
people
me be
still care.
careful. Like certain people can be dangerous, so you have to be careful, right? I mean, you told
Certain
me that at one point.
certain people, yeah.
So you do have to kind of be careful.
Mhm.
But I do like the idea of giving the kits with kindness because it's packaged stuff and it has socks in there and it has water bottles in there and it has a lot of good stuff in there. So I do really like giving those. There's some. Well,
We
we
could
had
always use that. Yeah.
right.
Always getting stolen those things: blankets, jackets, socks.
Yeah, the packet has socks, knit caps, but yeah,
Yeah.
so it's good stuff. And then a lot of people have dogs that are homeless, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
you want to help them feed their pets. And we had some really good news this week. We actually are now on some other platforms. We're available on Spotify, and you can look us up on iHeartRadio and Spotify. We're
Podchaser,
Podchaser.
Podcast Addict.
Well, yeah,
Addiction.
quite a few other ones. You can look us up, and also we still have our Dying to Get Well on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook page. So it's always good if you want to go on there and look for us as well and like us. We're on YouTube as well, and you can subscribe. I think that's pretty much it. I wanted to say this little quote by Maya Angelou because I love her, and I got to see her at UCR a while back ago. Alyssa told me she was going to be there. Alyssa didn't go with me, so I was there by myself. So the quote is, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Thank you so much for listening to KCAA 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, and 106.5 FM. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
KCAA Radio.
Rice Fire Protection reminds listeners that more and more veterans will be returning home over the next few years, and many are local. These heroes have elite military training and valuable professional skills. They also need jobs too. That's why Rice Fire Protection is encouraging all local businesses. Let's make it the year we hire smart and hire vets. That's a message from Rice Fire Protection at 24300 Vera Lane in Moreno Valley. For top quality service at prices you can afford, call 951-243-6677. That's 951-243-6677 for Rice Fire Protection.
If you're ready for a Las Vegas vacation, here's an offer you can't refuse. The Vegas Travel Center is offering 3 days and 2 nights in Vegas free. Just call 909-406-7400. The offer includes accommodations with 2 free tickets to great Las Vegas entertainment with free meals. So if you're planning a trip to Vegas, you need to jump on this right now. Just call 909-406-7400. Obviously, an offer like this is not going to last. So call now, 909-406-7400 for your 3-day, 2-night Vegas vacation. That number again, 909-406-7400. Call now.
Hi, I'm food critic Alan Borgen, and I'm excited to tell you about a small local company called Soaring Swine Acres that creates and sells over 300 delicious tasting and unique jams, jellies, honeys, sauces, pickled products, and their new Voodoo Queen holistic teas that you can't find anywhere else. You can visit Soaring Swine Acres store in Yucaipa, or you can purchase their products on their website, SoaringSwineAcres.com. That's SoaringSwine Acres, ACRES.com. Savor such delicious items like rosemary pear jelly, ginger orange jam, cherry chili jam. Visit them at SoaringSwineAcres.com. That's SoaringSwineAcres.com. Take it from me, food critic Alan Borgen, these food products are delicious. That's SoaringSwineAcres.com. Happy eating!
This segment is sponsored by Dickey's Barbecue, now in Yucaipa at 33562 Yucaipa Boulevard in the Vaughn Shopping Center. Dickey's Barbecue, where you can get sauced with 5 delicious barbecue sauces. For the holidays, there's the Dickey's Holiday Feast options. Everything you need for a festive gathering with delicious hassle-free meals that you just heat and serve, whatever your needs are. They have the perfect option, including the complete feast, the dinner feast, or the single holiday meats and sides, available for pickup and delivery from Dickey's. And there's no charge for kids on Sundays. In fact, the kids get free ice cream. Dickey's Barbecue, now open in Yucaipa at 33562 Yucaipa Boulevard in the Vaughn Shopping Center. Dickey's Barbecue, whatever your needs are.
you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in